Basically, if you're making a Java application, you need Java classes. One of the Java classes needs to have something called a main method, which we'll be going into much more detail in this video. And the rest of the Java classes don't necessarily need a main method, but they can have methods, which we'll specify later on. So you can think of it like this. This rectangular box is something that you absolutely need to actually make any type of Java class. This is mandatory. However, this circle right here, this is a rarity. You don't need this that often, and you only need to put one of them. So when you're making a Java class, this is always necessary, but this you do need one of. So let's say you're making something like 3 Java classes. So this is one Java class. Now let's say you make a second Java class right here. Then you would just need this rectangle. And for your third Java class, let's say it's being made here. Then you would just also need one rectangle here. As you can see, there's only a need for one of these, and it's not necessary here or here. Now let's actually look at the code. So if you look right here, I'm using an IDE called Eclipse, which is very popular. And when I made a brand new class, you're going to see the first line right here. And this is the rectangle that we were talking about. This is always going to be mandatory. Of course, you would need to make different names because test is just a name. And if you're making another class, you would call it like just another name like Bob's class, Mark's class, different names. Well, that's obvious. But you would still need public class to tell Java that you're making another class. Now you could have different types. You could have private class, public class, different, but we're going to be using public for most of these examples. Now the line you see beneath this public class indented right here, public static void main string args. This is specifically the rarity that I was talking about. It's the circle that I was talking about in the first example. And this, you only need one in your entire project. So if you're making 17 Java files, you just need one of these, and that's all. So if you look right here, where I've actually made this project file called test, and where I made this test file, we can make another class. Now, if you see Mark's class right here, it didn't have the public static void main because you just need one of these to run. So essentially what public static void main does is that it actually runs your program. If you don't have this line, your program will not run. However, for the other classes that you create, you don't need public static void main because this is where it's going to basically, this class actually acts like the launcher. As long as you have this class, your program will run. And these classes could be empty, but that would be kind of useless. So most likely you would just have different types of methods in them.